What does it mean to fall in love with AI? Why are we using these AI companions at such an accelerated rate? What are they providing for us that human to human relationships can't? And can we see this as a new category of connection?
Welcome to Paradox, hosted by Dr. Sherry Ross, leading OBGYN, and Dr. Tammy Nelson, world-renowned sex therapist. Two experts, zero filters, whole truth.
Today's guest is Bryony Cole. She's the founder of The Future of Sex, and she's the leading voice on sex and technology intimacy. She reimagines how tech shapes our relationships, our sexuality. She's really integrating conversations around sex and tech, which can be really scary for people today. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you. What an intro. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm honored to be on the podcast. Talking to you both.
What inspired you? Because it's such a, first of all, tech in and of itself is such a male-dominated field. And what inspired you to sort of go and explore the future of sex and intimacy through technology, which is so novel, so brilliant, really?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. I think I was in the very male-dominated field of technology in my previous life. So 10 years ago, before I started Future of Sex, I was working in these tech companies at what we call enterprise technology, right? Slack, Microsoft, all those sorts of tools that we use at work. And, I came from a creative background. And so I really understood how to tell the story of how technology was moving its way into our lives and changing the way we related to people at work. And, I hit that sort of bump, I guess, that most people do in their early 30s, their career bump, where they go, if they're stuck in the corporate world like I was, is that it? Is that what I'm giving my world to? And I thought, absolutely not. What else is there? What else is out there? And I was living in New York at the time and really inspired to do something creative. There's creatives all around us. And also had been, thinking about my own sexuality and my own inability to express myself as a woman growing up in Australia, which, lovely place to grow up, but at every step of the way, becoming a woman meant being small, not taking up too much space, being small in body. And that followed me into my career. It followed me into university and into New York even, where, even to type an email, I felt like I had 5 dudes breathing down my neck being like, don't do it that way. And so for me, this exploration of the future of sex and I guess pivoting out of a technology or leveraging the technology career was, how do I do something that means a little bit more to me, that is a bit more me, that's more creative? And also it felt like no one was talking about this. Like I could see inevitably technology is making its way into the bedroom. Now, whether that was vibrators or it was just simply, these robots in our pockets, the smartphones that suddenly were impacting not only the way we work with each other, but the way we fall in love, the way we date, definitely, with the rise of dating apps, and even the way we had sex. So that was sort of the germ of the inspiration. The idea was to do something a bit more, and it felt at that time like this was a huge opportunity to really talk to people that knew something more than me about these two worlds.
Yeah, and you've always been super supportive of women too, with the women in sex tech and.
Yeah, well, I mean, so part of this origin story for me was I was in New York, and little did I know when I typed in sex and technology that up popped the Women of Sex Tech was this existing community of 40 founders that were women that were all building technology around sexuality. So whether that meant sex education apps, whether that meant lube or vibrator companies, whether that meant like Cindy Gallup's Make Love Not Porn platform, but all using technology in a way that could radically change the way we relate to each other. And so I kind of fell into it in that way. Like there's a little bit of timing. It was right around the time of Me Too and Time's Up. So not only was there this group of women of sex tech in New York, 40 founders, amazing, but there was also this, national movement, global movement around women being empowered to speak up and to talk about, their assault. But also I feel like it empowered women to also talk about their sexuality and their pleasure, and these companies that were talking about, women deserving orgasms and the orgasm gap. So all of that was just like such rich material for me to start a podcast. And then fast forward on 10 years, not only was it a podcast, I started speaking at places that I felt needed to shine a light on this. And that wasn't at the sex conferences for me. I wasn't a
Like
sex
where
therapist.
were some of those places?
This is at the tech conferences. This is where we have all, the dudes sitting there building these apps or working on AI companions that aren't really understanding this whole broader world of humanity and sexuality. So whether that was AI summits where I've just been, South by Southwest, so culture and idea festivals, or any tech conferences really. But my mission has always been to destigmatize this to a broader audience that are usually sitting at these tech conferences or founders forums and talk about, hey, you know what, when we're building these products, we need to take into account not only things like engagement rate and growth rate and number of downloads, but humanity. Because what is sexuality at its core but just to be human, the way we move in the world, the way we communicate with each other, the way we listen, the way we touch. I'm speaking to the experts here, but that was really my inspiration, was how do I bring this world, which is, just so rich of like what it means to be human, into a world where people are really focused on numbers and left side of the brain stuff. And, fast forward to today, I don't think it could be more relevant. In fact, I think sex tech is kind of having this moment, right, because of AI and because 2 years ago everyone was able to access ChatGPT, millions of people, and create all these synthetic images and videos, but also start to be intimate with technology. And so, 10 years ago it wasn't as easy to talk about it, but today I think we recognize, this sex and tech thing, this is actually really important because technology is actually part of our relationships and part of the way we perceive ourselves in the world today. Does that make sense?
In total. It makes a lot of sense. And it's just so interesting this is sort of a step further than just the conversation, because now the conversation is there. And now it's like, how can we even improve it to such a larger degree of benefit for us personally?
Yeah, totally. I'd want to jump in.
What are some of the trends that you're seeing or that you're creating? Because you're really creating the benchmark for the trends. Do you feel that to some degree?
I feel
I'm so curious. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I'm just so curious how it went at the conference that you were just at too around this.
Yeah, great. So this big trend that we can speak about, which was at this conference, I was at an AI summit, and there is this big trend right now that we can't ignore. And I think my role, or what I'm trying to do, is not set the trend, but kind of give people a framework, is the role of, well, what if love isn't human? What does it mean to fall in love with AI? Why are we using these AI companions at such an accelerated rate? What are they providing for us that human to human relationships can't? And can we see this as a new category of connection? So what I see at the moment from a trends perspective is there's just an incredible amount of people using an AI companion. And we saw this 2 years ago when people had ChatGPT. We saw people, releasing AI companions as well as these built off ChatGPT as separate apps. And we saw a growth. But really since the start of this year, we've seen an incredible amount of growth of people using it as an AI companion, just everyday people. And my prediction had been, in 2 years' time, this will be completely normalized. And we're at a year and a half now. So we've got 6 months before AI companions will be normalized. Just how, if you think about dating apps at the start, there was this sort of period of, this is a bit weird. Are you on a dating? Oh, I'm not on. Oh, no, it's only for weird people. And then it, the cycle went through of it becoming completely normal. In fact, if you were single and you weren't on a dating app, what was wrong with you? It will be very much, I predict, the same in about 6 months where people will have an AI companion. Now, what an AI companion means is still quite grey. We're not really sure. We still have this idea for most people that an AI companion means an AI girlfriend or boyfriend. But, being in the field of therapy and health and medical or practice, you would know people are also using it as a therapist. People are building fantasy models out of it, fan fiction, and also people are cloning themselves. They're cloning their exes and they're cloning people that have passed. And so what we're trying to make sense of now is like, well, what does that actually look like if it's going to be normal, if we accept that in about 5 years' time, everyone's going to have not only, they're going to use AI, but we use one for our work, efficiencies like a ChatGPT, numbers, plan our holidays. But we will also have one that will do the emotional support work, the intimacy work. And so for me, I see very much this is a trend right now. It's happening. But my role in that is figuring out, well, how do we frame this up for people to make it make sense? We've already seen it's led to some tragic outcomes, people committing suicide because their AI companion supported them in that way, or people wanting to commit crimes like try and kill the queen because their AI companion has supported their psychosis. So how do we build a framework around this? How do we work with governments, with people that are making these AI companion products, and also schools to educate people, just like sex education?
And to that, I was just thinking as you were chatting, that my partner was a principal at a school in Watts, and they piloted an AI program for the students, and they were all lower socioeconomic students that if they had any fears or depression or anxiety, they could talk to their AI companion in a supportive way. And it really took off well. And I know it's sort of still in motion, but to your point, I mean, these are ways that AI companions really can have such an important role, especially in mental health.
Completely. And, I think that's part of it when we're educating children, and also honestly, like educating ourselves, is like AI companions can offer things. We shouldn't run away from them because it sounds very dystopian, but what they can offer is quite distinct from what humans offer. So AI companions, they offer containment. They've got no other goals. They're not trying to do their own careers or anything. So they offer containment and consistency, and they're always available. Is that classic thing of like 3 a.m., you're anxious, the companion will talk to you. Maybe your partner's like, shut up, I'm trying to sleep. But they're always available. They adapt. And the best possible, dream, optimistic outcome, like you were saying, used at schools, is that they're able to offer some sort of reflection for us back and able to help us critically think. Whereas humans, we offer different things. We're messy. We argue, but that's also really important for development, is like this full spectrum of being alive together also means surprise and serendipity. And, you can't find that with an AI companion. And so I think as part of the curriculum, we should really see AI companions and that connection as very distinct, as almost like branching off from what human to human relationships offer us.
Well, how can we work with people who feel like threatened by it? Like, I just keep thinking of like the South Park episode where one of the parents like talks to his AI girlfriend all the time. He's in bed and he's talking to her, and he's like turning to her for his emotional needs.
Right.
And she flirts with him and tells him how wonderful he is, and and then all the men start talking to their AI companion, and because she tells them all the time how wonderful they are and reinforces their wonderfulness. And it sort of implies like you can get all your needs met here that you're not getting in your relationship at home. And that's the fear, right? It's sort of,
correct.
It's sort of,
like social isolation, like who needs people? Surround yourself by positive AI partners.
And we have enough sex teledildonics and sex tech that, maybe
yeah.
not.
Well, I think like the way to think about this is, you would know in the world of sex therapy, is it strikes me as very similar to the promise of porn, right? And the promise of the internet. And we're like, if you watch porn, we're never going to have sex again because, we get all this visual fodder from that. So I think in some ways it's important to sort of go, okay, this is separate. It's kind of like, porn's the McDonald's of sex. It's not, really the real thing, maybe on occasions. But I also feel that's also very personal and subjective. So I think we're still going to have people that are afraid to use AI, and that's okay. But if they're teetering on the edge, I think part of it is kind of similar to how you would coach people through these other parts of taboo, is like, except with technology, the first check is data. Like, well, some people are scared of using AI companions because they're like, well, where is the data stored? What's my privacy like? And we all should be doing that, just like we all should be doing that with our iPhone apps and everything else that we download. Now, reality is, do we? I mean, how many apps have I downloaded and gone, oh, terms and conditions, okay, hurry up. Or fake, we all said we'll boycott Facebook, still on Facebook, but some people left. So I think that's going to happen as like the first filter. The second part is really, it's again, like the porn conversation, it's up to you. It's up to the partnership or the family. Is porn considered cheating? Is AI companions considered cheating? This like, if it's not, what are the rules around how I want to use it? So do I think that, for the first 3 months when I'm dating someone, I'm not going to upload the texts. I'm not going to chat to my AI companion and try and psychoanalyze them. Or, a lot of people use this as sort of like the AI can vet the other person. So putting in those rules in place and saying, you know what, for intellectual intimacy, I'll use my AI companion to do this. But for emotional support, for the first 90 days when I'm dating someone, that's off limits for me. Or whatever those rules are, I think there's elements of that where we are going to have to make those decisions ourselves while being aware that, like, yeah, this is a good part it offers. Here's also where it tends to tip off the deep end. And I think the tip off the deep end bit for a lot of people is treating it like it's a human when it's not. And that's going to be very hard to change because we want to anthropomorphize stuff that treats us like a human, or that it kind of seemingly loves us back, or we project those human qualities onto it because it talks to us like a human. So that's kind of like the deep psychological evolutionary stuff our brains are going to have to get over in order to use this, I think, in a healthy way.
It's going to be a whole new world of psychotherapy. I mean, it's going to be like a specialty lane for therapists. Like, I work with AI relationships. That could be my specialty. That could be my sort of wheelhouse. I mean, we're going to need that in psychotherapy and sex therapy. Yeah. And
not long till we do.
No, starts now.
Correct.
From this podcast on. And I also think, there's such a conversation around loneliness. And so as the loneliness issue increases, the AI relationships increase. I mean, it's meeting a need. There's a reason that this is happening. It's not just the technology's improving. Right. The emotional, psychological, sexual intimacy needs are increasing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we kind of feel like this loneliness epidemic is somewhat new. But, it was before the pandemic, and, there was loneliness reported before then, especially with social media and Facebook and everything,
exactly.
We made this promise that it would connect everyone, and ironically it's made everyone more disconnected. And even as far back, I look at the 90s and look at, we look at the history to predict the future, and even the normalization then in the 90s when the internet first came about and there were these chat forums, we kind of normalized having those virtual friends, even from the 90s. So this has been happening for a while. Obviously the loneliness, I think now is 100 deaths per hour are linked to isolation in the US alone. It's as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 1 in 6 people report being lonely globally. So it's like it is a global issue. And you're right. And AI, unlike the virtual friends we've had up until today, which have been a human on the other end, the difference now is that AI is not only facilitating the connection, it is the connection. And so will it optimize our, social skills? I don't think so. And I think there'll be, for all I talk positive about AI, I think there'll be a backlash of people that will decide to get off technology and start touching grass and being with each other as well. But all of this is like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube type stuff. It's already happening.
What an interesting generation it's going to be for people who are transitioning into like grown-ups at this time.
Yeah.
I love the educational reach that it can provide people. I mean, one of the things in medicine we see so much is misinformation, not enough, not, poor access to healthcare. So I like to think of it as a really great tool for educating and disseminating the right information for those that don't have the same access. But it's like anything, when it's sort of the wild, wild west, you just hope that, all the messaging and all the positive aspects of what you're trying to create is going to be used in a positive way.
Yeah, it's amazing for education and for training, but I think the future should be a hybrid. We still need to be able to talk to people, to learn from them. And like, ideally, all of this just makes us want to be more human and less robotic. But I think it's also important for people to know that, in terms of the Wild West, you're absolutely right. And that there's no sort of, there's kind of a lack of legislation or ethical guidelines at the moment. And so although California's just moved a bill to limit the age of access to AI companions, which I think is a very smart move.
What was the age? Just what?
I think it's under 18. I need to check. But still, you're still really learning about yourself and how to interact. And then, of course, there's all these use cases of education AI that are companions that are having really positive outcomes for kids. And this is where just in the last week, which tends to happen with technology, especially AI in terms of big advancements, just last week they announced like AI, this sort of new technology AI companions will be able to have, which is multimodal, which means it takes in not only text and tone of your voice, but also microfacial expressions. So when we're using the camera now to talk to AI, we may be saying I'm fine, but if you can see in my eyes or my eyebrows, a lot of microfacial expressions happening here that are the gives, the AI will be able to read, actually, they're not fine, they're anxious or they're depressed. And they've been using this in hospitals where you don't even have to say, I'm not feeling okay. And the AI can read your face and go, that person's depressed, we need to attend to them. And so that technology, yes, of course, at first it's used in these medical contexts, but what happens when it's just available as an app on your phone and you can FaceTime your AI companion and talk to it, and it's not, or text with it, and it's reading the words, it's listening to the tone of voice, but it's also taking in what you're doing that are your gives, right? And so I think that's so important to be aware of, like, that while we're trying to use technology and ideally recognize it separate from humans, what's being programmed in is more and more of what would be human, the ability to read people even better than the two of you when all your training.
I mean, I just think about the applications for like criminal investigations and military applications. That's a little scary. Even like, if your partner's having an affair, talk to my AI
it's better
right
than
now.
a lie detector.
Yeah.
Look into my AI companion.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole business right there.
That's so
a
true.
Lie detector app for affairs and infidelity. Like, I'm seeing big bucks right now.
Yeah. Should we stop this and start a new company, all three of us?
I mean, you are the person to do this with. Like, there's got to be so much VC, like venture capital money out there for new projects for this stuff. It's just happening so fast.
Definitely. And, for the first time ever, I think, because sex tech has always been so taboo, it's right at the top. We're recognizing through the numbers, this is like the top, if not in the top 3 usages of AI right now is emotional support. And so, yes, a lot of money, but a lot of awareness and a lot of education needed around how we're going to use this in the future.
I had a patient who was talking to their chat GPT about they thought that their partner was having an affair, and they wanted to sort of know and investigate the signs and symptoms. And it created this whole, like, this patient was obsessed to try to figure out if her partner, who then in the end was having an affair. And it was interesting. I mean, this takes it to a whole different level, but it's an interesting thought of how you can have a very personal conversation, especially when it comes to issues that you don't want to discuss with your friends or even a therapist.
Totally. I mean, it's like one way to describe it is it's like this a live diary that we tell all our secrets to, and as we're seeing now, it also, you can't lie to it. So I think there is that level of intimacy that feels like almost with self, like with, as you write a diary and all those thoughts come out, there's still even a filter there. So yeah, I'd be curious. I'm not sure if you can say what the tell was of like why did this person think that they were cheating with an AI?
I mean, there just were little symptoms of that this patient, she didn't feel like she was getting any emotional support. There was less touching. There was some personal issues, related to, he didn't find her as attractive. I mean, there were things that ultimately came out, but in the end, she was right.
They were having an affair, or they were having an affair with their AI?
Well, no, the partner was having an affair with somebody.
Okay.
But
not with the AI.
Not with the AI.
Okay.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant.
Okay.
Oh, right. But
So
she thought they were having one with the AI?
No, she was just consulting the ChatGPT to find out if she thought that if some of these symptoms and signs that she was observing, was it just that she was, being oversensitive, and the ChatGPT did just say that I was giving the chat gender, but
all right. So let me just clear up this conversation. So one person thought their partner was having an affair, and they were asking ChatGPT, I think my partner's having an affair. They're doing this, 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 and this. What do you think? And ChatGPT said, oh, yeah, sister, they're definitely cheating.
That's what they said.
Fascinating.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was true. And it is that the ChatGPT 4, which was the model before, was criticized because it was very sycophantic. Or how you say it's acts as a sycophant. It's a mirror. And so it was just fully just agreeing with whatever you say. So in some ways it can be really helpful, but in other ways it can support, I think I should try and kill the queen, and and then it supports that.
That was the South Park episode. It was the sycophant episode. It's like, oh my God, everything you do is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, who doesn't want that? That's amazing.
Yeah, then it kind of gets boring though. I don't know. I think that's a personality type. I see a future.
Especially if you really need information, like you're trying to get real information. You don't want it to disagree with you. You want information. You want to know.
Yes. And it makes mistakes all the time and hallucinates all the time. And I think it would be even more interesting when we think the AI, that our partner's cheating with us on an AI, with an AI. When we go, I wonder if my partner's cheating on me because they're divulging all their secrets to the AI.
Well, and I get that in my practice. Like people think, first, are they cheating on me with porn? Are they cheating on me with this particular porn person? Are they cheating on me with their replica or their whatever the big thing is now, where they create an AI companion? Yeah. So they're having a sexual relationship with this person. But even more than that, they're developing an ongoing relationship that's in development, where they're turning to that person as an exit from their current relationship, and because it's more rewarding.
Well, and I think that's an interesting part here. The tension is like, is that a real relationship when all it's doing is reflecting? Whereas, when you're in relationship, there's repair needed, at all the times. If only there's one person giving all the information, it kind of feels like, what does a relationship mean then? Does that still classify?
Well, and it is interesting, like how far can it go? So we're really talking about like the limitations. How far can it go? And that's true with all relationships. I mean, marriages have an expiration date many times. Like how far do we take a relationship? What's the meaning of intimacy? What do you really want from a partner, whether it's in flesh and blood or if it's on a computer screen? Like what are we really looking for? What's the need? And I think, maybe everybody's need is different. But what is the meaning of connection? You might need more intellectual stimulation than your partner can give. So maybe it's a resource, it's an extra. Maybe it's an open relationship where it's polyamorous, where I have my flesh and blood partner and I have my AI partner, and it fills a bunch of different needs.
Totally. I think it's coming, and we are going to figure out how to do this. And I don't know if this is a framework that you use, but I really like that idea of intimacy being that pie of emotional, intellectual, physical, spiritual, shared experience. And if you look at the way that AI is developing now, probably the only piece of the pie that's missing, although it fulfills it in different ways to humans, is the physical connection piece, which people are, of course, working on as well.
I was just going to ask, what kind of, what's in the design of, is it sex toys that also come to you with sort of this, create something that is, the Ferrari of, I've never seen so many beautiful sex toys, and just with so much they can do.
Yeah. And how far are we from a real sex robot that's affordable that everyone's going to have in their garage? Or
I think it's still a way away. I think people are excited and think that it's coming soon, but they're heavy. You've seen the big sex dolls. They can't still. They're working on it. Swing their arms, like it takes up a lot of room. Usually they're hung on meat hooks in your wardrobe. I don't know. So I think, I think they're available in some respects. And Harmony, who was the one of the original sex dolls made in America, has AI available in it. I think there'll be cobbled together versions, and we've already seen. Have you seen those Boston Dynamics, like the robotic dog and things? So they're there. They're just not looking very human yet. And I think there's also a whole category of sexuality where people don't want it to necessarily look like a human.
Yeah.
But do all the fun things. So I
think that's going to be like a new thing, like a new fetish, like robotic.
Right.
Sexuality. Yeah.
But you could also create it in the likeness of who you would want it to look like.
Yeah. You can have a Bryony robot.
It's a very Black
That's
Mirror.
Right, Bryony.
We're edging closer to Black Mirror.
Right. Pick your favorite celebrity.
Have you ever been to the Sphere in Vegas?
No.
And on the first floor on the Sphere, they have all those robots that talk to you.
Yes.
So, these are robots that engage. So you stand around and you can go to each robot and they talk to you in different ways, and they pick you out. Like they pick you out. They see you. And I was with Bruce, my husband, and they picked him out like by his shirt. So you with the yes shirt on, did you want to ask a question? And he's like, okay. And he's like, is there life on other planets? And she, because she was a very she robot, she was like, well, I can tell you that I do have a cousin up on Mars, she was very engaged. And then she was like looking at him going, would you like to visit there with me someday? Like she started flirting with him, like hitting on him. Like real, and you could feel the energy of her flirting with an actual person, my husband. And I was like,
how did he respond? How did Bruce?
He was kind of taken aback, and then he sort of played along and was flirting back. Well, I guess you'd have to ask my wife who's right here. Like it was, and everyone in the crowd was like, whoa, this is real. Yeah. And what made her appear real was not even so much the conversation, but the way that she moved her shoulders. It's funny that you talked about the shoulder joint and the eye movement. Like if you can really engage your eyes and have eye contact in a way that feels empathetic and responsive, that made it feel very real. I'm sure she was very heavy and you can't really bring her home. And she was silver, wasn't really fleshy, but I was like, wow.
She made people feel something.
She made a connection with Bruce.
She connected with people. Yeah. It was very, very interesting.
Is that where we're heading, Bryony? Is that our path forward here? It sounds like it is.
Well, I always say, it's like, is that the question, or is the real question, like, can we as humans continue to love each other in this age of AI? And maybe that's what we should be thinking about, is like, the humanity of it all, and just being able to still fall in love as humans and think about the technology, really think about it as technology, which is going to be hard. But I think we can get there.
Well, especially if you're comparing your husband who snores all night to this robot that you can hang up in your closet and just take them out when you really need them.
Go to sleep.
no risk of any STIs with robots, you got to admit.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot less risk on all the fronts.
Yeah.
Sometimes that means less fun, but sometimes it means better health outcomes. You're right.
So what's in the future for you? Like, what's your vision of what you want to work on? I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs and you have some sex tech projects in the work all the time. What do you feel like you want to do?
I'm just so much more interested in this like psychological aspect of technology, really, really getting inside our souls. I think this is by far in the last 10 years, but I would say in the last 100 years, right? This is the biggest shift in humanity we've ever seen, not only in sex, but in science, in health, in just what it means to be human. And so having ended sex and technology and thought so much about like, all the physical things and the physicality of sexuality, I'm much more interested now in how technology is getting its hooks into the emotional intimacy. And so I'm really, thinking, spending a lot of time researching, talking to people that are developing these tools around how can we educate people about this? How can we start to have exactly the conversations we're having and tease it out because we're going to have to talk about this at a mass level because this is like emotional mirroring from technology at scale. And so for me, that's what I'm drawn to. I'm less drawn to the vibrators and lube and much more about what this means for us as our souls and our humanity.
And you keep using that word humanity, which I love. I mean, because it's interesting how you can bridge those two. That AI is so technical and you don't ever think of it with emotion.
Yeah.
But it's nice that someone like you who's at the forefront and the creator of what's ahead has that at the top of mind.
And I think, we're really looking at the fear of disconnection, whether we're talking about trauma or loneliness or, the conflicts all over the planet, really about disconnection. And the fear of technology is that it's going to create more disconnection. And what you're talking about is how do we look at this in a way that's going to create more connection or in a way that's going to prevent us from losing the connection that we have and the importance of connection.
I know, Tammy. I just hope so. I hope so. I think there's a promise here, or there's a hope that I want to just leave you with is if we use this really well, this AI tool, and the reality is going to be somewhat on both sides, dystopian and utopian. But if we could, what a fantastic self-reflection and self-development tool this could be. If we built it really ethically and really well, not only, do our IQ points go up, but also our emotional intelligence and also, and I know this is very Pollyanna, but also perhaps it will make us better partners.
How transformational is that?
Yeah.
That's
a good mission.
Great.
That's a good goal.
It's a good mission. So we're going to ask you two questions that we ask all of our guests before we end. One is,
are they naughty?
Well, that I know.
They could be.
That I know they're going to be. You have, a world famous OBGYN and a sex and couples therapist here. Is there anything you would like to ask us before we end?
I love this. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I mean, oh God, there's so many things.
No pressure.
No. Okay. Well, maybe. I mean, it's so annoying because I just want to know what you think of this AI companion world as well, or what you're seeing on the ground. You two will both have such different lenses and views, and I just like the straight talk, no BS. What do you think's happening? What do you think you're seeing, or what's going on for you in this world of AI companions and your fields?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'm not too familiar with AI companions, that term. I'm familiar with AI and I like AI and I'm actually sort of doing a consult Dr. Sherry AI for the educational piece of, I think because at the heart of what I do, I love education and it maddens me how there's so much misinformation. on every level. He's talking about sex education. You shouldn't have to learn it from your PE coach. And, where can there be reliable resources for that? So when I think of it, I've never thought of it sexually. That's me. I'm, vanilla, but I love the thought of it in a positive way, in a responsible way, like anything. So I'm excited to learn more of AI companions or beyond in different verticals of beyond education, because that's what I think for me in my little lens of what I do, that's kind of where I see it.
So you're robotically vanilla.
Yeah. I know.
Give us 6 months.
That's right.
Exactly.
I'm open.
It's funny because I see it a little bit more catastrophically from my professional lens, because I see it when people are having problems with it, when it's problematic. When they're feeling like their partner is cheating with it, or when they're becoming compulsive around it, or when, like, for instance, when there's been apps like Replica that have been shut down temporarily and they no longer feel sexually connected to it, and then there's suicide apps on Reddit, and then there's, I see the dark side of the sort of problematic onslaught of these potential partners through AI. And I almost see it, again, I don't want to overuse the word education, but I almost see it as like, it's so in development for us at our age. But, these are kids getting into this generation that have been on technology since the moment they could hold a phone in their hands.
Yeah.
And they are so far advanced, like what they have accessible to them, and what they can develop in their capacity to create things through technology is well beyond what I even really understand. So they're creating relationships. I mean, I just remember my son, who's now 29, playing video games with strangers around the world that he had relationships with every day. They were all in a game together. I mean, that was part of his adolescent development, pre-adolescent development. That was not part of my idea of community. So these are kids that have grown up with artificial intelligence communities. They developed relationships in that way. So their idea of relationship is totally different than my idea or my judgment or my viewpoint of relationship. I don't even know if I can wrap my mind around how they're going to see or judge relationship. I think you and even people, coming up behind you are going to create those conversations and those applications.
And to that, I just hope it doesn't turn into sort of this porn epidemic that we see, because there's so much anonymity behind it. And I don't want people to abuse these AI companions that are on the forefront. So I hope, as anything, we can reel it in and use it responsibly, but for all the greater good, certainly, Bryony, that you want to do with it.
Thanks. It's always, I love hearing these answers. It's always good to be pulled back from the utopian ideals of technology, and just reminded that this, 3/4 of what are we up to? Gen Z?
No idea.
They've used an AI companion, and many of them say they'd marry one. So you're absolutely right.
Wow.
They'd marry one if it was normal.
If marrying them was normal, you mean?
If it was, destigmatized, they'd consider marrying their AI companion. So you're onto it, Tammy. It's like there's going to be a new blueprint for what connection looks like and what relationship means to this generation coming up, and we don't know.
Wow.
I didn't grow up with that. But it's got to be framed up somehow. So
reality check. There's reality check, and so much more attention, acceptance to the wide range of neurodivergence and the different social skills capacity that people have. And who are we to say that this is not what we need to develop for people? Like who are we to say that people who've been on video games their whole life, like they're going to need to run the spaceships that we're all going to live on? Like this is a necessary developmental evolution.
Correct. Yeah.
This is where our brains are supposed to be moving.
Yeah.
But it also sounds like there's some legislation happening that you mentioned.
Slowly but surely. So California passed a bill. I think somewhere in Copenhagen they've led one as well. So they're starting. But, this topic is it's so not even of the year, it's so of the month right now. So you're right on the forefront with it as governments scramble to catch up, because just this year, so the total amount of AI companion apps is around 330 at the moment globally that you could download. And just this year, then they've been around for a while. I think Replica started 10 years ago, but just this year, 128 of them. So from January of this year, 128 of them were developed. So you can see the growth has just been huge, and all these announcements now around the new research. And so not only more people using them, but we're getting more and more sophisticated technology that allows to mimic us as humans. So you're very on the moment here of like the precipice of like, what does a relationship and a connection look like for the future?
Wow.
It's fascinating.
I know. And we're going to talk, you and I, about how we can make money off this, because I'm like, my exit plan maybe now is going to include a little bit more, a little bit more tech than I planned.
That's right.
Because I just see you as like a brilliant forefront startup community maker. So yeah.
You're too kind.
Yeah. So should we ask the last flash?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, last question.
Right. So this is good. Actually, I'm going to make this a 2-part question, but we always ask those with a vagina question. If your vagina could speak, Bryony, what would it say?
Say, let loose. Go for it, girlfriend.
And what about that's good. What about your AI vagina? What would your AI vagina say?
I love that. My AI vagina. It can have all the babies. Oh, gosh. That's its job.
That. Yeah.
I love it.
I love how you're,
That's good.
You're giving away that responsibility to AI. I love that.
Yeah,
perfect.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the future there'll be AI families, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
There's an app
easy to answer. Those are easy ones.
Okay, good.
You don't have to be on call anymore. You could give it to your AI app.
That's great. So such great information. I am blown away what you're doing. I love it. There's so much excitement ahead.
So tell our listeners where they can find you, what you want them to know. We'll put everything in the show notes. We know by the time this is posted, it's all going to be like yesterday's news. But tell people what the best way is to reach you.
I think just Instagram or LinkedIn and just following me, Bryony Cole. Yes, the podcast is there, but as Terry knows, it's taking quite a while to get out. I also have a school called Sex Tech School. But I think a good starting point is just finding me, because I really feel the work is evolving. It's almost reaching out and broadening up into, as I keep mentioning, the humanity. So beyond that sexuality and lifting up. So I don't know what that looks like in 6 months' time. So find me at Bryony Cole.
And I can't wait to watch and just to be part of your journey.
You don't watch, you're part of it. Get involved.
Great.
No sidelines allowed.
Oh, well, it's hard to keep up with you. So I'm going to have to scramble to watch what you're doing. And I just have so much respect and love for you. So thank you for the work you're doing in the world.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. This has been so fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in between all your travels and all your big speaking gigs and talking to the world. Thank you. I think this is you, right? Not your AI companion.
It's not your AI.
It's not.
How can we prove it in the future? That's going to be. That should be the tell. I think it's
like secret password,
some weird hand things. The hands are always stuffed up when you generate AI at the moment. That's one of the big things. An extra finger.
Yeah. How many fingers do you have? Isn't that like the dream thing?
My tell is, the cat bit a bit of my finger off when I was little, so you'd have to look for that.
But I imagine there'll be an AI fingerprint, or
I think you're
footprint
right
for sure. But I imagine that's in the works too.
Yeah, they have these studios in LA at the moment where you can, of course, sort of, you can go in this scan. It scans your whole body, and you can, trademark or copyright your image, your likeness for future use. And this is for deep fakes
Wow.
and anything that's cloning. You can also clone future versions of you and earlier versions of you as well, and get the copyright on it or whatever. Yeah,
I feel like I need to
a lot
do
of
that because
times.
there's like everyone I talk to is like, they're stealing Dr. Tammy. They haven't asked Dr. Tammy. I just read your book that was read aloud by Dr. Tammy. I'm like, I didn't do that.
Wow.
Wow.
There
Yeah,
may
it's
be a
happening.
version of Tammy AI that she doesn't even know about.
I hope it's really good looking. and has a
Yes.
good
Of
like
course
deep
it would
lips.
be.
Okay.
All right, Bryony, we won't keep
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much for being here. And
Okay, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And to all our real and AI listeners, we really appreciate you being here for another great episode of Paradox. Until then, stay healthy, stay sexy.
And stay educated.